Things just took a shocking turn as we have a crazy new report that has dropped surrounding Mitch Marner and his future in Toronto, and it has fans absolutely losing their minds. I'm going to break that down and discuss what it means going forward, as well as a couple of other updates, including one update surrounding a Leafs prospect and young player. Stay tuned for all that on this episode. But before we get into it, if you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Leafs content. Your guys' support has been unbelievable, so thank you guys for that. We are on the road to, of course, 30,000 subscribers. We're about to hit 21,000, so thank you for that. Also, bear with the setup. Now I'm traveling and Darius is back home, so we're changing setups around here on our mobile setup. So bear with that over the next few days. But Darius, there's a lot to go over today. Obviously, the Leafs are in a very intriguing spot, and they have a ton of question marks. They have a ton of holes to fill. But number one priority here is Mitch Marner. We had our answer for Brendan Shanahan. We're still waiting to hear, as of the time of recording, from Brad Treliving. But one thing is clear, and is that this Mitch Marner situation, it's taken a turn now into a bit, I guess, uncharted territory. Let's dive right into it here, and there's a little bit of a sneak peek for our prospect later. But let's start into the Mitch Marner conversation here. Pierre LeBrun came out and said, and a couple of these are interesting, Anaheim, Detroit, Chicago, Los Angeles are among the teams interested in Marner, with Florida and Vegas being of interest to Marner, among others. So this is crazy. They just got eliminated by Florida. I'm seeing tweets online about how Mitch Marner is going to turn into the next Kevin Durant, hopping between teams. The Florida Panthers not only are a team, according to Pierre LeBrun, is pretty tapped in, that Mitch Marner is interested in going to, but there's also interest from Florida to acquire Mitch Marner in the offseason and sign him. And to be completely honest, I fully believe this, and I see a world where this happens, assuming and if they let Sam Bennett go here. But this is it's taking a crazy turn, and this is going to be the way that it is for the next little while. But note here, of course, not that Toronto isn't listed on this tweet. Of course, you assume Toronto's there, but more and more reports are coming out that his time in Toronto has come to an end.
Yeah, we're going to get to that in just a minute. But in terms of this, I do actually believe this. I really do believe this. And in terms of Sam Bennett, I mean, I think he's either returning to Florida or he's going to go wherever that team is that offered him $10 million. And we covered that in a video yesterday as well. We don't know what team that is, but there is a team that wants to give him $10 million. So he's either staying in Florida or going there. Now, if he leaves Florida, frees up some cap, obviously, it makes just over $6 million. And they would have cap and they would make room for Mitch Marner. It sounds like he wants to go there. Obviously, if you can't beat them, join them, the old saying. But I do believe that would be a fit for them. I actually think the Florida Panthers would want Mitch Marner because they have that core group built there and they have that mindset. So if you added a skilled player like that, you would assume that he would either start to play like them or it would just be a very valuable asset and you have other guys that, play the way that you need to win. So I can see them both being interested. And again, the whole thing about the no income tax and all of that plays a huge factor into things, right? If you play in Toronto, you're going to make significantly less. You could have the same cap hit, but you're going to make significantly less. So obviously for him, listing Vegas and Florida makes total sense in terms of that. So we know where his mindset's at, if that is true, that he wants the most money possible, obviously. But again, those are two teams that are contenders. They don't have the most salary cap, so it would be interesting to see how that plays out. But we do know that, Los Angeles has been in this the entire time. I heard the Kings have been around, the Mitch Marner rumors since early last season, right? Like they've been in it for a while. So it's going to be very interesting. Detroit needs to take a step. So I know they're going to push hard. It's going to be interesting. And like we'll get to in a second, Toronto isn't listed there. I really don't think, and we've been talking about it for a while already, that he's coming back to the Maple Leafs. I just don't think there's a world where that works anymore.
Yeah, you think about what he said in his postseason press conference, a lot of speaking in the past. Also, something to note here, you mentioned that the Leafs aren't listed. No Canadian team is listed among the other teams surrounding Mitch Marner, which, again, could be alluded to and probably is directly related to the taxes. There's been a lot of Brian Burke, or someone came out recently, has been saying that, in their time, it seems that a lot more players, not just this year, but over the past handful of seasons and even in the past decade, have put Canadian teams on the no trade clause because their agents have been telling them to do so because of the taxes, and then the agents make more and the players make more. So it doesn't seem that any Canadian team is listed. And I don't think the Leafs are going to be one of them. And it's a bit sickening to me that he's going to be interested in Florida and Vegas. It makes sense, but after everything that, we've gone through with this, at least it's not the, Boston Bruins. That would be, a big punch to the gut here. But you can see this here. Was Mitch Marner subtly hinting at a future outside of Toronto? And Jeff Merrick broke down the Leafs locker room cleanout day and broke down some interesting comments from the pending UFA and talking about how he's kind of hinting about this. But it's not just his comments, because you can kind of construe those any way you want. Reports are coming out from Elliot Friedman, Chris Johnson, very real chance that he is no longer a Leaf. And then, of course, Pierre LeBrun here throwing these names out. And then, of course, with each day that goes on, Marner's a beast. He's a great player. the odds of him, the more teams are going to come out and speak out about this, are going to get higher and higher. And that's the unfortunate reality if you're a Mitch Marner fan. But it is going to be very, very interesting. And also, I mean, I've been seeing some, people online. Let me know down below what your thoughts are. There's a lot of people out there, which I'm starting to learn now, which the more we dig into it, it kind of makes sense. There's a lot of people who prefer to have not Max Domi over Mitch Marner necessarily, but come playoff time, sliding Max Domi onto that top line alongside Nyes and Matthews and then filling out the team elsewhere. The more we start to look into actual other alternatives, because the first time it's something you have to do, I like the other routes that the Leafs can go, especially if they can manage, use their salary properly. And I don't mean necessarily Sam Bennett at $10 million.
Yeah, exactly. You bring up a good point too. A lot of agents and players right now have 8-team no trade clauses, right? There is a ton of them around the league, and those 8 teams are all 7 Canadian teams and the Buffalo Sabres, right? So you bring up a good point with that. So that does play into this a lot. You bring up another good point with Max Domi sliding him up in the lineup. I like the way that looked with Bertuzzi last season, right? They didn't go back to it this year. I thought it looked good at the time. There was a tweet that came out a couple days ago too that, when you really, really deep dive into the advanced analytics from this playoff run, Max Domi for the majority of the time was actually more dangerous than Mitch Marner, right? When you really, deep dive into it, which is just absolutely insane. So there could be something to that too. Maybe Max Domi gets an elevated role next year, but you got to fill out the rest of the lineup. What are you going to do with the salary that you're saving? And I use that word very sparingly, but saving with Mitch Marner leaving, because that's not a great thing. You have to fill out the rest of the lineup, right? So that's the biggest thing for me now. We know that Mitch Marner is probably gone. We're going to have more videos on this, of course. We're going to break down some more stuff because there's stuff coming out every single day right now as things progress. And obviously, we haven't even heard from Brad Living yet. So we're going to break that down, as things kind of progress. But it's looking like he's not going to return. So, I'm looking at now, like, how do you fill out this team with the salary cap space that you do have? Because let's not forget, Jake McCabe, extension, right? That's kicking in. Joseph Woll, right? Like, there's a couple other guys. What's happening with Nick Robertson? Are you trading him, right? Like, what's happening with Pontus Holmberg? So kind of looking at that stuff now. How can you make this team better? Because I think we already know that Mitch Marner won't be here and he's already looking at other destinations.
Yeah, and it's a matter of how they relocate this asset. You can see here, 2 players most likely heavy contracts are Marner and Ehlers and Sam Bennett. Both geared out similar to one another, but a key difference is Ehlers' time on ice is much lower. He could be an option for the Leafs. It's literally a matter of if Marner and when Marner leaves, how they reallocate the money to make sure that you're not overpaying certain players, but also to where you're getting some scores back. One other thing before we wrap up here, Providence College junior Tanner Adams was invited to the Maple Leafs development camp. He was very good. We'll have another video coming out on him at some point as well here, but some very interesting numbers. And as prospects and training camps start to pick up, I mean, Easton Cowan's a guy we haven't spoken about much. He's ready to take the leap any moment now. He could be a guy, and a very good chance that he factors into the team next season, and he could be a big part of their plans as well. So any quick thoughts on this before I wrap up? We'll have another video covering a couple of these guys here soon, but still good news nonetheless.
Yeah, Brad Treliving continues to, restock the cupboard that he kind of, threw things out of at the trade deadline through, the NCAA. And this is a good player. It's a little bit weird in terms of they're drafting and signing very specific guys, and he doesn't really fit that specific mold. He's a little bit, smaller. He's 5'10", but, good numbers and all that. So I am a little bit excited to see how he progresses and what the plan is with him. And like you mentioned before we wrap up, Easton Cowan, he's in the Memorial Cup again after winning the OHL championship, the J. Ross Robertson Trophy again this year. So he looks really good. Like, his game has kind of transformed a little bit, and he looks like he's on a mission this year to win the Memorial Cup because of what happened last year. So, maybe he does make the leap next year, right? I think he's very close. He's closer than he has been. So, well, obviously, but it looks like he's actually playing a pro style at this point. So check out those games as well, and he could be an option for the team next year too.
Yeah, let us know what your thoughts are on that. And of course, on the idea of Mitch Marner joining Florida. I think that's what I think. See you later.